You know that's my favorite word.
Yeah.
I love the word non-negotiables. You go to Chick-fil-A right now, you go there for lunch,
There's non-negotiables.
and you say, thank you. What do they say?
My
pleasure.
And that's a non-negotiable.
Every single time. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. You must say,
Yep.
right? My pleasure. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Welcome to the SAID Leadership Podcast, powered by CreateInterest, where we train and
You win.
That's right. This leadership podcast, if you are new, is for those people that are looking to sharpen those leadership, coaching, and management skills, or maybe looking for best practices or extra motivation, or simply just looking for solutions for those opportunities or hard-to-move obstacles. We know that someone out there is looking for that one little nugget, that one little idea, one bit of inspiration, or maybe just wants to be reminded of something they already know. I am Scott Krieger, and with me, as always, is the true star of the show, my fearless leader, Moises Solis. Moises is the founder and CEO of CreateInterest. Moises has served as the chairman of the board of Empresarios Latinos of Houston and mentored at the Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Houston. He is the author of several innovative books, including the SAID operational model, Getting on Board with the SAID model, Putting the SAID model to Work, and Front and Upward Thinking. With over 23 years of experience in sales, learning and development, and management, Moises is a seasoned career coach, a skilled trainer, and, my favorite, an inspirational speaker.
Oh, wow. Nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Gets better every day.
Doesn't it? And today, our topic at hand, which is near and dear to our heart, is accountability and driving performance through leadership.
Yep. Wow. It's a powerful topic, isn't it?
All right. So what comes to mind when you think driving performance?
Oh my goodness.
Through leadership.
Well, the first thing is performance. What is performance? What is performance? Every time we go out there to organizations, we almost literally get a different answer, because depending upon their definition of performance,
yep.
Right? So it's interesting that no one really thinks about it in a way that we push for this, right?
Right.
This is what performance is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say performance. Are we talking about performance of a car, of a motor vehicle? What do you mean by performance? What is that?
Yeah.
And I think that's where people stumble with accountability is, so wait, I hold people accountable for their performance. What is that? What is their performance? How do I measure their performance?
Yeah. So define performance in some way, right? Now, it doesn't mean that they don't understand performance. It's just that sometimes they got to be very clear on what performance is in their team, obviously.
Right. So what would you say are the key elements? Somebody's out there right now saying, driving performance. What comes with that? What are those key elements?
Well, the first thing, performance got to be measured, right?
Yep.
We cannot define performance unless it's measured. I mean, that's the number one thing, right? Is there a measurement to this, right?
Yep.
I can't say I'm performing without really showing that I went from here to here. You got to know, you got to know the measurement.
Right.
So there's got to be some kind of score.
Yep.
Right. The other is that basically the minimum expectations to something, right? What are the minimum expectations for me to know that I'm performing?
Yep.
Right. That's the plateau.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then the other angle is what's the goal, right? And so within that measurement, I will know whether I'm performing or not.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get it to where, hey, I'm a manager, I'm a leader, I'm holding these people accountable to do blank.
Yeah.
And the first question we ask is, well, what's the goal?
Yeah.
And sometimes they struggle with defining that goal. Like, what is the goal? And it could be a daily, a monthly, or a weekly goal.
Yeah.
And then you also have to have a team and an individual goal in order to drive that performance.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, having a minimum expectation, right? Having, what is the bare minimum that I must do? And if I don't hit that bare minimum, under my performance, in order to perform, what's going to happen? Is there a negative consequence if I don't? And then is there a positive consequence if I do perform?
Yeah. So, I mean, you have some great examples to our own learning, right? When we got there, what was it that you reflected that, man, I was not very, again, I won't put words in your mouth, but there's a point in time when we get to a point that I'm not sure that I've ever set minimum expectations, right? When was that time when you learned to set those minimum expectations?
So I think the first time I was a manager and I learned the hard way. So I think in driving performance and in just driving overall performance, in sales or customer service as a manager, the most fun part of driving performance is celebrating wins.
Sure.
Hey, if you do this, you get this.
Yeah.
And then you clap and you celebrate and you dangle the carrot in front of them. But that doesn't always work.
Yeah. How fantastic is that, right? If there was nothing, stopping you from it, we would be celebrating every day. Growth would be immense, right?
It's more fun.
Yeah.
It's as a manager, it's way more fun to give people money, gift cards, to have parties to celebrate victories.
And this is where the truth of management comes in, right? Yep. That it's not that easy. Yeah.
And I think that, so to your question, when did it happen? When was that ta-da moment? It was when the recognition, the vitamin R, celebrating the wins of those people as a manager of my team wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And so I had this goal board on my wall in my office, and I had all the goals at the top. And 3 months go by, and I'm like, we're not hitting our goals. What am I doing? I'm coach. I don't understand. I'm giving them feedback. I'm coaching them. I'm celebrating their wins when they do well, but we're not reaching our goals as a team or individuals.
Yeah.
So what's missing?
Right.
And so that's when I realized I have no minimum.
Yeah.
So I just say, hey, you didn't hit your goals. Better luck next time.
Yeah.
Here's what we need to do different.
Yeah.
And then I defined those minimum expectations and said, okay, if we don't hit the bare minimum, then there's going to be a negative consequence. Yeah. And if you hit the goal, then there's going to be a positive consequence, right?
Yeah.
And essentially, I'm trying to take the lower performers of my team, raise them up, middle performers and raise them up, and top performers and raise them up. So I'm trying to elevating the individuals in the team.
Yeah, you're creating your own standard, right? Yeah. So if you're managing a store, a branch, or department, right, you set your own standard. And what is that minimum standard? It's basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, in my world, when I got to learn that, it became easier and more effective to manage people because people knew exactly what was the standard. The biggest problem was to communicate that.
Yeah.
I came into the assumption that people would understand me by saying, hey, you got to be here, but I never treated it as a non-negotiable.
Right.
Right. This is non-negotiable.
And I think the clarity on the non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite word.
Yeah.
I love the word non-negotiables. You go to Chick-fil-A right now, you go there for lunch.
There's non-negotiables.
And you say, thank you. What do they say?
My pleasure. And that's a non-negotiable.
Every single time. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. You must say, right? My pleasure. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Yeah. So I think defining those in terms of performance, knowing the goal, knowing the minimum expectations. Hey, there's a negative consequence if you don't hit this minimum.
Yeah.
There's a positive consequence if you hit your goal.
Yeah.
But to your point, and I learned this and we teach others this, hey, you have these goals, you have these minimum expectations. Now, what are the things your team must do to accomplish those? Yeah. And we call those non-negotiables. No matter what. I don't care what's happening around you, you do these things. If you're in sales, here's the examples, and we talked about this earlier, right? Yeah. If you're in sales, what must you do in order to hit this goal?
Yeah.
What are those things?
Yeah.
If it's 10 dials a day, it's 100 dials a week. Yeah. There's a script that you must say.
There's a marketing day. There's a sales day. Whatever those are non-negotiables that you must follow. Right. They'll say those are the activities you must do, right, to be successful, and they're non-negotiable. And that's the whole point. They're non-negotiable. So if I'm managing those individuals, it's really the word is, and that's the tool we teach, right? Take it at heart. Those that are watching. This is a tool you must use.
Yeah.
A non-negotiable language, right?
Yeah,
you go out there and you do the non-negotiables to get and to be successful.
And I think if I'm a manager listening to this right now, maybe I'm a new manager, maybe I'm a manager that's just learning how to lead people, or maybe I'm an external hire. I've come from the outside and I'm now here and I got to hold all these people accountable to raise performance. Yeah. I'm really wanting to identify the goals, the minimum expectations, and what are the non-negotiables that must happen. But the key point of the non-negotiables is they have to be something I can visibly witness or hear.
Right.
I have to be able to inspect what I expect.
Yeah.
So I can't say, hey, go out and build relationships with all your accounts. Mm-hmm. That's not a non-negotiable. I can't really watch you. I could go on calls with you if I'm your manager.
But there's no measurement.
Right. I can't
visible task.
I can't measure that. You could walk in and say, hey, Joe, and I could say, oh, Moises, you did a great job at building that relationship.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I've got to be able to see it. I've got to be able to hear it. I've got to be able to measure it. And there's I call it the form checklist, which is it needs to be frameable, obtainable, repeatable, and measurable. Yeah. Wow. And those non-negotiables need to be those things.
That's a tool.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, if managers, hey, I've come across seasoned managers that are okay, but they're not great. Yeah. And that's the tool they're missing, right? They haven't set their non-negotiables. This is what you must do, right? The task that must be done.
Yep. And I've used sales as an example, but there's customer service examples. Just through the rental car, company that we worked for in the past. Just we had to set those non-negotiables for service. Yeah. Hey, every night you leave, all the cars on your lot must be cleaned before you leave. Every reservation for the following day needs to be called, confirmed. They need to know what to bring in with them. You need to go over what type of vehicle you need to have for them. There's, every time someone comes into your building, you greet them at the door with a handshake and a smile, right?
Yeah.
There's
non-negotiable.
No matter what's going on, this must happen in order to achieve our goal for customer service. Every single time, no matter what.
Hey, it's almost like magic happens when we teach this to owners and managers. So at the restaurant, right, when we teach managers at the restaurant, we say, hey, what are the non-negotiables that the hostess must do when the customer enters? Well, it could be literally open the door, right? It says welcome, right? And call out what the special is. Those are non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables. Right. I think for me, you bring back a lot of memories with the restaurant days. I managed a restaurant for 6 years. Yeah. And it was, you greet them with your name, right? You ask them if they've been there before. Yeah. You suggest 2 drinks. You suggest 2 appetizers right away. I think it was even you get them waters within 2 minutes of them sitting down. Yeah. All of these were non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables.
Even at the restaurant when you're walking around the corner, you have to say corner. Yeah. I mean, that was a non-negotiable in communication. Oh, wow. Because if you don't say corner, walk around the corner, what happens? Waiters are going to bump into each other, and you're holding a tray, and it's a disaster.
Non-negotiable. Right?
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's interesting. You set the standard.
Yeah.
You set the standard. Hey, you reminded me, as a waiter, I remember my manager would say, the non-negotiable is after your shift, you must roll, 11 napkins.
Yep. Or fill up the ketchup, so the Tabascos, the salt and peppers.
That's a non-negotiable. Right? Yep. You want to work here, you must do this as a non-negotiable.
Or we press shirts. Yeah. We at the restaurant that I managed, you had to have laundered crease in your shirt. Yeah. It had to be clean. You were sent home. Couldn't work.
So what happens, and I'll ask you the obvious question, but this is what commonly people see out there. Yeah. What happens when there are no non-negotiables?
There's a lack of clarity. And I think that what happens is you just keep getting to the fact where, hey, we're not hitting our goals and we don't know why. Yeah. And then it's just a pat on the back. There's a lack of performance. There's a lack of clarity. Morale is low because you're not performing. Yeah. And I think one thing you reminded me of is when we're setting a big mistake I see is when managers set non-negotiables, they forget to also anchor it to the individual's goals. Yeah. Is sometimes they set these non-negotiables and they make it all about the team, and that comes across as all about me as a manager. Like, it's all about the team. It's all about. Yeah. It comes across as it's all about me, but reality is, as a servant leader, and we teach servant leadership. If you're serving your people, hey, these non-negotiables, if you do these, you will be successful as well. This is about you and your goals. Yeah. Whatever those individual goals are for you, both for the organization or your personal goals in real life. Mm-hmm. Like in your own life, you want to be able to afford a new house. this is how you close more business. If you want to close more business and make more money, these are these non-negotiables. If you want to be a manager someday yourself, you must do these
there's
things.
so many, when we go to organizations, there are so many consequences that are happening because of no non-negotiables. In other words, morale is low, managers are in trouble, people are confused, they don't really understand what needs to be done, what's their role and responsibility, right? There's a lot of things that happen. Poor service, poor sales, and lots of things.
I think accountability is scary. I think people are scared. They don't want to have the difficult conversation.
Yeah. That's the manager, or the leader, right? Whatever it is, not wanting to have that conversation.
So tell me about a tool outside of non-negotiables, something that you've seen been used to hold people accountable and to provide clarity for what their goals, their minimum expectations are.
So the very first thing that comes to mind is I tell the manager, okay, when you hired them, did you set the expectations, which were the non-negotiables? And they'll say things like, well, we told her what her role and responsibilities were. But did you actually show her? Did you have her shadow? Did you have her, whatever it was, but for her to be clear on what were those minimum expectations?
And you remind me of one thing, and this is at the beginning. This is when they're hired. This is when they're joined the team.
Yeah.
I think there's another opportunity is that people wait until there's a lack of performance.
That's my point. Yeah.
So 3 months on the job, and they're like,
well,
wait a minute, you've gone 3 months and you haven't done haven't done X, Y, Z, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that was my goal.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that was me.
In fact,
I didn't know that was the team.
Yeah.
Was I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Yeah, but 3 months went by.
Yeah.
Right. Bad habits started setting in.
And I think you remind me of just a statistic that you and I both know is if you lose a substantial amount of employees in the first 90 days.
Yeah.
You lose a lot in the first year. The most are lost within the first 90 days.
Yeah. Well, people won't last. There's a lot of people that are, especially nowadays, right? It's easy to say, well, you know what? It's not for me. I'm leaving. It's only because no one really gave you the opportunity to know exactly what your role and responsibility was with minimum expectations, non-negotiables, and the goal.
And the goals. Yeah, I think, and you reminded me that, and this I learned this from I had a lot of very awesome leaders that I was able to look up to, and they taught me when those start. And I always thought, well, the expectations start the day that they start with me, like the day that they're on my team.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, okay, maybe I start it when we onboard them and they're new hires.
Yeah.
And then someone really pointed out to me, and it might have been you. It was like, it starts in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm interviewing somebody for a customer service job, for a sales job, for even just an operational role, in the interview itself, and it's probably a 2 or 3 step process interview, that throughout that interview process, they're communicated what their goals are, what their expectations are, what those non-negotiables will be. Yeah. So there's no surprises the day they walk on that job. Yeah. And now you're just supporting what was already communicated. And if it's done correctly with an organization, me as a manager, I'm part of that interview process where I can have that dialogue with that interviewee and say, hey, tell me a time when you had to do something like this because here's our non-negotiables.
Exactly.
Tell me a time where you had to meet a goal because here's your goal. Yeah. Tell me a time where you had to face negative consequences because, hey, here's the minimum expectations.
And once the conversation starts getting serious that you are the right candidate, the question is, okay, so what are you going to do exactly for us to perform better, right? What are you going to bring to the team? And that's when they'll say, oh, I have high integrity. I'm not going to be late. I'm going to contribute. I'm going to work hard. Whatever it is that they say.
Right.
Now, that's when we say, okay, grab those, and then that's when you start measuring them, right? You say, okay, you said you would not show up late. This is the second time you show up late. What happened? The point is, right, you start measuring them against their own expectations.
So let's say, here's a scenario.
Yeah.
Somebody right now out there is listening and saying, oh, I like this. I want 1 hour with Moises. I just want 1 hour. You had 1 hour with somebody, a manager.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a new manager. Maybe they're a manager taking over a new team, and they say, Moises, I just want 1 hour with you.
Yeah.
I want to be better at holding my people accountable because I don't know what's going on. I just can't get them to do what they're supposed to do. What do you review in that hour?
Well, almost what you said, right? From the beginning, at the time of interview, they should do that. But again, it's never too late. This person is part of my team, and I want to make sure that I set the right expectations. So that's the tool we teach, right? So here are the three things, right? This is the minimum expectations. These are the non-negotiables, and this is the goal. And then as you are clear with these, there'll be no question that what are the consequences for not reaching those minimum expectations.
Yeah.
And what are the consequences for
The positive consequences, right? How do you celebrate those
Let me
wins?
tell you, if that's the conversation,
Right.
a lot of troubles will go away.
And I'll add on to that, because you reminded me something as well, that a mistake some managers make is they wait to address the performance, either good performance or lack thereof. They wait until a performance review, or they wait until the end of a month.
Yeah.
And then it's almost a surprise at some point to the individual.
Yeah,
oh, I didn't hit my goal?
yeah.
I wasn't doing my non-negotiables? Yeah. Oh, I thought I was doing it. I thought I was doing it the right way. And they're not.
Yeah.
There's not conversation. So there's several tools that I have used. My favorite being, as you know, the morning huddle.
Yeah.
That it's an opportunity as a manager, if I'm managing a group of people, whether remotely or whether on the job, that if I have that 15-minute morning huddle with my team, we can go over the non-negotiables. We can go over where are we at with our goals, where are we at with our minimum expectations, both as individuals, as a team. Mm-hmm. I can provide some training, development, some coaching in that 15 minutes, and then I can pump them up for the day to make sure that, hey, whatever roadblocks come up, this is what must happen. We're aligned. We're on the same page. I love minimum expectations, and I think this obviously you have team meetings. Mm-hmm. But you coach and develop along the way, right? You have those one-on-ones where I'm sitting down with the individual, and I'm either training them and making them better, I'm recognizing them, or I'm pulling them back and saying, hey, you're not along the right path. Let me steer you the right direction. Yeah. And I think those one-on-ones and morning huddles are so valuable as a manager.
Wow. So talking about accountability, right? The reason it's so hard to make people accountable is because that never happened. And how in the world am I going to say you're doing it wrong when I never really set those expectations?
Yep.
And that's where managers struggle, right? Because there's a guilty feeling of, what am I going to tell you if you didn't even know, right? Deep inside, that's really what's happening.
And I think also, and I've said this before, is inspect what you expect. Yeah. Is build in your schedule and your calendar as a manager, as a leader, to inspect whatever it is you're expecting and not waiting until a number, until it's a sales number or a service number or a growth number is presented to say, oh, gosh, right? Yeah. It's constantly inspecting. Are they doing the non-negotiables? Yeah. Are they saying what we said that we need to say? Are they doing what we said as a non-negotiable? Constantly inspecting. And sometimes I've seen managers, unfortunately, I've had some managers that they got promoted because they were great in sales or great in service, but not necessarily had the right skill sets as leaders. And they'd go straight to their office and shut the door. Yeah. And there was no inspection. Yeah. The only time I heard anything was when we didn't do something right.
So I always say from the side of that employee, that individual, right, that wants to do well, it's, they want feedback. I mean, I want feedback. I want to know if I'm doing it right or wrong, right? I want vitamin R. Yeah. If I'm doing it right, please tell me so that I can continue, right? But don't surprise me at the end with something that I've done negative for the last month and you never told me.
I think that's what I like so much about non-negotiables is that, and I've drawn a picture on a piece of paper where it's a road, right? You're going down a road. The first stop is the minimum expectations, right? The non-negotiables are what gets you there. Yeah. But if you continuously do those non-negotiables correctly, then you're going to end up the true destination, which is the goal, which is where you get the positive consequence, right? Yeah. But those non-negotiables are that pathway. Yeah. If you as a manager and a leader are not recognizing that your team or your individuals are doing those non-negotiables correctly along the path, then you're missing the boat.
And that's the biggest reward that an employee can have, right? The fact that I'm being guided step by step that I'm doing it correctly. Yeah. And if not, I want to know. Right? Because I don't want surprises. Yep. That's where it happens. Happiness on the job means that I'm performing and someone is recognizing it, right? And that's what people want. Yep. So ultimately, that's where we tell managers, hey, if you really want to make sure that you have people staying at the job, right? meaning they're not walking away because no one is really recognizing. You got to do these minimum expectations, non-negotiables, and obviously set goals and let them know along the way that they're doing it all right or not well enough.
So we are at the point in our podcast where we have our first segment of the day, which is
What?
the ultimate smackdown.
Oh,
So our smackdown today is goals versus expectations.
wow.
So what's the difference?
Wow. Well, expectations is what you are, the way I think about expectations is what you are requiring me to do, right? These are the activities, right? Non-negotiables of what you are requiring me to do, right? If I do that, then I reach the goal. The goal is the destination.
Right.
But to reach the destination, I must do these activities to get there.
Yep.
Right? And that's really the difference, don't you think?
I think so. I think goals, you're very aware of those goals. The expectations are that pathway, that road that gets you to where the goals need to be.
Yeah.
And instead of, and there's negative consequences to not performing those expectations, whereas goals are celebrated.
Yeah. Well, you said it right. You said, without those minimum expectations and non-negotiables, you cannot reach your goal.
I think goals are just dreams at that point. They're not achievable. They're not obtainable because they're just.
Yeah. Tell me more about you it's really about the non-negotiables, minimum expectations to reach your goals. In other words, it's not the goals alone. You said something like that.
Right. It's not. You have to it's the activity that happens along the way. The expectations are the activities that happen. So if it's a salesperson, you're doing certain things, and if you do these things, the goal will take care of itself. And it's not just a dream anymore. Yeah. And so I think some people make a mistake of just focusing on the goals and not all the activity that gets you there.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
The next segment in our program, ladies and gentlemen, is the hard facts. So this is where I got bored, did some Googling, right, and pulled some statistics based on our topic today, which is accountability and driving performance through leadership. So I'm going to give you some data, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
Data shows that more than 80% of managers struggle with holding others accountable.
That's a fact. And you know why? As I said, right? It's because expectations were not set.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult to have that conversation when you never did. Right, you never communicated. You were not clear with those minimum expectations.
I don't think it's fun. I think most managers would rather be the nice person.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more focus on retention today, on happiness on the job today than there ever was. Yeah. And I think accountability is viewed with a negative connotation, as a negative word almost. Like it's the A word. Yeah. Don't say the A word. Yeah. And I think if you relate accountability to driving performance and accomplishing goals, and you marry those two together, then it becomes more positive conversation.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that if you were to interview individuals that have difficult conversations, that have had people tell them the right and the wrong, they're happier. They're more successful than those that said, my boss never approached me, never told me what I needed to do. Right? It's interesting. So
interesting you say that. I have some more statistics.
All right.
91% of employees say that effectively holding others accountable is one of their company's top leadership development needs. Yeah. So this is employees. So 91% of employees surveyed in this situation said, my managers, my leaders, they're not so good at holding others accountable.
That's why I'm confused, right? Because I thought that this was the way. They never said anything, right? And it wasn't until my performance review that they never gave me, it was not a fair
It's the activity
shake.
along the way.
Yeah.
So this one's from Gallup, actually. I actually wrote this down. It's from Gallup. So Gallup found that only 14% of employees, 14%, feel their performance is managed in a way that motivates them.
Yeah. Just 14%.
So 14% feel like, yes, my performance, sales, service, and in between, is managed that it's pushing me to do more.
Yeah. Well, because they're not getting vitamin R, right? No one's really recognizing. There's again, confusion, not knowing what to do. it's easy just to get lost.
And here's another statistic that will support this. 21% of employees feel their performance metrics are within their control. So they're given goals that maybe aren't, they feel they're giving goals that are too lofty, maybe. Or maybe the metrics, they don't understand how they control those metrics. And when I read that statistics, I immediately thought of they don't have non-negotiables, or they don't know what those non-negotiables are. Because if you identify the activity that must happen to achieve those metrics, well, then I'll feel like I have a control over it. So somebody's hired, they're saying, here's your goal, here's your metrics, sink or swim. And nothing is identified as to how to accomplish those. So
what a bad situation.
Lack of coaching, lack of clarity. And 40% of employees feel as if their manager holds them accountable. Feels their manager holds them accountable for goals they are set. So they feel like 40% of managers actually do hold them accountable. So what that tells me is people want to be held accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, I've never met an employee that gets the job that doesn't want to do. They're really just waiting. Tell me exactly what you want me to do, and I'll do it, right? And more so, within that job, they want to feel recognized that indeed they're doing the right things.
Right.
But whenever no one sets the right non-negotiables or activities that they must do, then they feel lost. There's no...
It was put in. There's a manager I had that said, and this goes with recognition, right? If you're a manager, you recognize your employees, you make them feel good. And it was put to me that everybody wants to be a part of the cool kids club. Everybody wants that feeling. So if I'm an employee and I see a manager recognizing somebody else for their performance, I want in on that. I want to be a part of the cool kids club. Like I want that recognition. I want that medal, that trophy. I want the spotlight. Not everybody does, but it's the feeling that it provides,
the majority
right?
will always want that.
Lastly, 69% of employees feel they are living up to their potential at work. So 69% feel they are living up to their potential.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Same thing, right? It just goes back to not getting enough recognition. They feel left out. But again, it wasn't. Sometimes it's. If you really see it, it's not because of their effort. They want to put the effort. They just don't know where to put the effort.
That's right.
It's not clear.
I love that. I need to write that down. That's a great quote. It's not the effort. They don't know where to put the effort. I love it. Last segment of the day. Not mine. It's all yours.
All right.
It is From the Top.
Ooh. Well, check it out. If our audience needs to, this is the takeaway. The takeaway is if you haven't truly written down what your non-negotiables are and really discuss that with your team, you must do that. If as a manager, you must be clear, and they must be clear on what those non-negotiables are, right? Set the minimum expectations. Don't just go with the standard. Raise it up, right? Make your team higher in their standard, right? You set the standard, they will literally act upon that standard. It's only when you don't have that minimum expectation standard. And of course, the most important piece is that your goals must be attainable. In other words, don't give them by the end of the year you should be here. Work it out by every month. Literally by the end of the month, you should have an attainable, small enough goal that they keep adding up to that big goal at the end of the year, right? That's the tool. Those are the three things that they must do. And believe me, if you do that as a manager, you will be successful. There's no doubt.
I love it. Frameable, obtainable, repeatable, measurable, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Put it up on the wall.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much for tuning in to SADE Leadership Podcast, powered by CreateInterest, where we train and
you win.
For more, go to
CreateInterest.com.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Warning. The following podcast is a powerful catalyst for a transformational experience filled with actionable advice, practical guidance, and fresh perspectives. Listening to this podcast may ignite a whirlwind of inspiration, revolutionize your approach to leadership, and empower you to drive meaningful change. Proceed with an open heart and mind, and get ready to unlock your true leadership potential. This program has been rigorously tested and approved by professional learning and development audiences. Side effects may include an unstoppable drive for success, heightened leadership acumen, and the unstoppable momentum to excel as a learner and evolve as a leader. Business owner discretion is advised.